Attention please. There is a valid reason why I am dressed like this and why this is my background. I've just been filming my first ever personal vlog over on my personal channel, Megan T, and it's about my toddler themed birthday party. But I was gonna get changed and take this beautiful bunchies combo with the dungies and even a little cheeky mood ring and Claire's accessories bracelets because I'm that fabulous. But then I was thinking it kind of goes with this week's episode of Weirdo Wednesday, so I thought, why not? It's hump day, go for it, do what you want. Also, I've had a few drinks so it could get a wee bit messy just then. So hi guys, if you're new here, my name's Megan. Welcome back for episode 3. Did I mention I've been drinking? It's episode 3 of Weirdo Wednesday, where we'll talk about everything UFO, conspiracy theory, paranormal, and all things in between. I also have my true crime channel up each Friday, Killer Weekend. So if you like anything spooky, please hit that subscribe button. I'll be here for you each week, every Wednesday and Friday. And keep your eyes peeled because I will be doing my personal channel upload very soon. All things wedding, all things my lockdown birthday, and everything else. So yeah, here we are, another Wednesday, another week, not another migraine, so we're all thankful for that. And this week's episode it's my worst nightmare, not gonna lie. I'm actually getting drunk right now, so I've even got the courage to make the video because I've been petrified all week about it. And for anyone who's actually wondering what I'm drinking a stunning Malibu with pink lemonade. Because Malibu is the drink of the upper class, don't you know? I'm just kidding, I'm an absolute trash bag, but we all know that here. Without further ado, we'll get on to this week's Q&A section of the episode. So I've got a few good ones and a few weird ones, so we'll just read the normal ones. If any of the weird ones were actually readable, guys, I totally would read them, but it's literally reading out entries from sugardaddy.com, and I just can't do that. We're a family show. So question number 1 is, what's your favourite 90s after school snack? Do you know what I have not had in like a decade, and I don't even think they make it anymore? It's the Whisper, but the mint Whisper. They just don't do it anymore. They do mint everything else, but mint Whisper. I remember getting one of those bad boys for the corner shop after school and being like so excited. You would hide it from your mom and eat the other half after your dinner. It was so good. But yeah, they don't make them anymore, sadly. Question number 2. Who is your favourite band or singer? And that's easy for me. Always, always, always Bruce Springsteen. If you're too young to know, look it up. My dad loved him. I love him. He's brilliant. He's called the boss for a reason. It's just science. Question number 3. If you could completely change one aspect of your style or your looks, what would it be? I would probably say if it's my looks, I have quite a big nose and not a lot of people can see it, and I can see it really badly, and I just feel like my nose, just my nose. Maybe my nose? Yeah, I would say my nose. Quite bulbous. She's got a presence, yeah. And last but not least, question number 4. What do you make all the Meghan Markle Harry drama? So, this might be an unpopular opinion in the UK, but I actually really like Meghan Markle. I knew her on Suits before I knew her as Harry's girlfriend, so I have kind of a different view on her. I liked her as an actress, so I don't really think of her as Harry's missus or Harry's girlfriend who didn't have a career before him, because she really, really did. Suits was a really good programme, had so many seasons, so it's not as if she was like a little fleeting part on this random TV show that never really did well or went anywhere. Not only that, I feel really bad for her. I think the minute anyone mentions stuff to do with mental health and racism, it doesn't really matter what your feelings of them are as a person. They should still be taken seriously, and those are valid allegations. So yeah, I've been watching it on Oprah. I totally think that they have to be looking into these allegations, and if this is something that in this royal institution is still happening in 2021, it doesn't matter if that's how it's always been, it shouldn't still be like that. So when I saw these things on Oprah, was I shocked? Nah, not really. I wasn't really, and I think if any of you are out there thinking you never had a clue that the royals had any inkling of being racist, I think that's quite a naive statement to make. I mean, I'm not being funny, I won't say any more than that, but if you know, you know. I really just hope that Meghan has got the help that she needs, and I really hope that her and Harry are happy, and that's all I could really wish for them. But I think she's very brave. Cheers guys for all your questions, and remember you can find them on my Insta stories on Mondays and Tuesdays. So don't forget to get your questions in. Remember, let's leave it on the PG side, huh? None of this, can I buy you an iPhone for a picture of your feet? Because we're not about that here. So guys, are you ready? Are the kids in bed? If you're a kid, are you in bed? Turn it off. It's no for you. And trust me, if you want to sleep for the rest of your life, you'll turn it off now. Because this week's episode is about one of my biggest fears in life. And from someone who grew up terrified of dolls, it really resonates with me, this one. As I grew up, I wondered where this irrational fear of dolls came from. Maybe it was watching the episode of The Puppet Show on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, far too young. Maybe it was watching Chucky and Child's Play, far too young. Or maybe it was just a fascination with things that just should not go bump in the night. Either way, possessed dolls and dolls moving around on their own for no apparent reason have been in the movies and popular culture for decades now, like forever. And it's something that we all have this eerie fascination with. Ever since Child's Play came out in 1988, the world has been obsessed with the phenomenon known as possessed inanimate objects. And this was the case in the Child's Play movie, which a doll was possessed through satanic voodoo when a serial killer, Charles Lee Ray, enters the body of an unassuming doll, only to be given to a young boy named Andy as a late birthday present from his mother. You see, his mum wasn't able to afford the doll, and she managed to get it off the back of a van, shall we say. Is that just a UK thing, off the back of a van? Is that really trashy? Sorry. But, spoiler alert, not all is what it seems with this new Chucky doll, because he is a homicidal maniac, and this doll that's meant to be Andy's best friend forever turns into something far more sinister. And as we watch these movies, we can turn off at the end of the night and say, it's just a movie, right? Wrong, because it's not just a movie. You see, the movie Child's Play was actually based on a real life story about a young boy and his possessed doll, particularly Robert the doll. So for that story, we're going to take you back to the start. Thomas Osgood Otto and Minnie Elizabeth Watkins Otto were a young affluent couple living in a posh suburb of Key West, Florida. They lived in a home that is now named the Artist Home due to their son, who then later became an artist in his life. But the home was a beautiful, old-fashioned, timey house. It had a gorgeous colouring on the outside. It's been a few different colours, but the most striking, I think, is lavender. It's really, really cute, and it stands out in the houses around the area. They're all really pretty, but there's just something a little bit special with this house. 32-year-old Minnie Otto found out that she was pregnant with her husband's fourth child, and they were soon excited to find out that it was going to be a boy. So what they wanted to do to make sure that Minnie had enough help around the home is Thomas would go to the Bahamas and get them some extra help around the house in the form of slaves or servants. I'm not really sure. It's a little bit of a grey area there. I'm pretty sure it was wrong. They were treated badly. It's one of those ones. And these people would then come all the way over to America with him and help around the house. In this group of people that he'd selected by hand, there was actually a young woman who was meant to be the young baby's nurse. So she would come over and take care of the baby, act like a nanny, and look after the other children so that Minnie wasn't overwhelmed with the newborn. At 4 months pregnant, Minnie was a wee bit reluctant to let Thomas go, but she knew that they needed the help around the house, and so she bid farewell to her husband. However, when he was meant to return in a couple of weeks' time and didn't, she grew a little bit concerned, as she was wondering what was taking so long, because she was literally about to pop by the time he got back. But when he came back with a little little souvenir from the Bahamas. You see, the lady that he had hired to become the children's new nanny, he'd actually taken quite a liking to her and got her pregnant. Minnie was not happy about this at all. She was absolutely fuming, and she decided to do one of the cruelest things that you could ever do to another woman. She locked her up in an outdoor outhouse, so basically a toilet, and she kept her there for the remainder of her pregnancy, where the woman's belly was growing and growing, but she wasn't being given any proper food or drink. She was apparently given one meal of bread, just plain bread, dry bread, and water every single day. She was deteriorating fast and she looked malnourished, and unsurprisingly so, when she delivered the baby early, it only actually lived for 2 months and then sadly perished as it was malnourished in the womb. The Otto family never felt much remorse for this, and even cruelly still made this woman the nanny of the young baby who had just been born. You see, Minnie had gave birth to a healthy baby boy after her husband's return, and he was called Robert Eugene Otto. He was named Eugene for short, and he never really went by Robert unless he was in proper trouble for something. But they actually made this poor young girl who had just lost her own child even breastfeed young Eugene, and this is something that apparently isn't that rare. Back in the day, it was said that slaves would be captured for the job of a wet nurse. The woman would be impregnated either by their own free will or by another way, and then their child would be taken away and done away with, and then they would be able to breastfeed the new baby of the wealthy white families because they would be lactating for their own newborn that had just been murdered. So yeah, that's disgusting. Now, most people would think that the woman would be completely bitter and hateful towards the newborn baby of the family, but she was quite the opposite. Obviously, her hormones must have been going absolutely crazy, and not only that, she was probably suffering quite a lot mentally from the death of her child and the way she had been held captive during her pregnancy. So she actually forms a really strong bond with the new baby Eugene. She sees him as her own child, and she really takes him under her wing, breastfeeding him and doing all the things that realistically his mother should have been doing. Now, in the legends, this is where the two stories kind of take a split. In the house, the artist's house now, that you can go and stay in, it's a B&B if you want a little bit of a scary time, head to Key West, go to the artist's house, it's beautiful, and I really would love to go myself, but I'm absolutely terrified of the paranormal, so I think I'll avoid that. There is a plaque in this house that states that the doll, Robert the doll, was then given to Eugene by this woman who is treating him like her own son in retaliation to something. But it is actually stated that the doll is from a German company named the Steiff Company, and it's actually a company that makes window display items, so such as like a mannequin. So the doll was actually never meant to be purposefully used as a toy for any children. It wasn't a mass-produced toy. It was actually something that was meant to be dressed up in little boys' clothes and used as a window display. It is said that this doll was bought by Eugene's grandfather, who had actually been in Germany on a business trip. So therefore, this had nothing to do with the doll was handmade and made with his hair and things like that. That's just allegedly not true, and people have fact checked on the doll and its whereabouts, and it is said that it came from this German company. Obviously, I don't have the doll in my hands, nor would I want to. We don't quite know. But we'll go along with the story that the grandpa gave him the doll because it seems the most plausible. Gene, when he receives this doll as a gift from his grandfather, he absolutely falls in love with it. He is with it every waking moment. They sit at the dinner table together. The doll has to have a meal on its plate at the dinner table, and he gets really, really attached quite fast. Around this same time, it's said that Minnie Otto, Eugene's mum, had actually found her servants outside at the bottom of their land performing a form of witchcraft. Now, this witchcraft is called Byeeeee, and it's a form of Bahamian witchcraft. I hope I'm saying that correctly, guys. Sorry if I'm not. But it's a form of black magic, essentially a type of voodoo that is performed in the Bahamas, and she says that she sees them sacrificing a live chicken in this ritual, and she loses her shit. She tells them all to get out, including the nanny, and the nanny is devastated. She begs the family to let her stay so that she can remain close to Robert, who's almost like a son to her now, but she's refused and she's told to leave the property with nothing but bare clothes on her back. It is then said in the other story that at this point she makes a doll for Eugene, and that she has sewn a piece of his hair into the doll and placed a voodoo curse on the doll. However, this has now been proven not to be true by historians. So she then leaves the property and is never seen again. But Eugene at this point feels even more abandoned with his nanny leaving. His mum's not really bothered with him. She's not really a hands-on mother. And he then forms this deeper and deeper attachment with Robert the doll. He then starts asking things like if the doll can be called Robert as he's called Eugene, and his mum does oblige, but when she has given him into trouble, she does call him by his full Sunday name, and she says Robert Eugene Otto, and he flips his lid. He says, that is not my name is Eugene, he is called Robert, don't do it again. The doll itself is then dressed in an old sailor outfit that actually belonged to Eugene himself, so a lot of people thought that this was just the doll's outfit that it came with from the manufacturer, but this was actually an outfit that he had worn as a child, and it was then passed on to the doll. The doll is quite a big item. It's like a 3-foot doll, so quite life-size for someone who's a small child. He would have been about 5 or 6 at the time that he received it. Life-size dolls, always a winner. Not only this, Eugene is often heard talking to the doll and having a lot of conversations with the doll as if he's alive, as if he's his friend, which is totally normal, right? Because when Eugene's mother hears these conversations going on, Eugene isn't the only one talking. And when she overhears him, she can actually hear a much deeper, darker voice replying in the form of Robert. And she says it frightens her terribly because she knows that at his age and at his maturity level, he would not be able to make this noise. He's a little boy. This sounded like a man. Eugene does seem to retreat into the relationship with the doll. He takes the doll everywhere with him and he stops kind of making relationships with other children. It's said that the only person he would freely talk to would be the doll, and his mother and father get even more concerned when he begins mutilating and destroying all of his other toys and then blaming Robert for the destruction. They do think that this is just him acting out until one particular incident in his bedroom one night where he said that he's asleep and the doll is then moved across the room onto the end of his bed, and then furniture starts flying around everywhere and he feels really scared as if he's in danger. His mother hears him screaming and she runs to the door, but the door is shut. She cannot open it and it's not a locked door. She can hear furniture slamming against the walls, and when she finally gets the door open, she said the room was an absolute mess and complete disarray, and this would have been impossible for a 5 or 6 year old child to even do on his own. Robert that evening was said to be absolutely petrified of the doll. He was curled up in a ball in his room, and this is a strange thing though. Even though he would be actively afraid of the doll when family would say they saw it move, or if they were having certain conversations, the doll's face would twist in a reaction almost. He wasn't that afraid that he did want to part from the doll. He still had this weird connection with the doll that he had to have it with him at all times. And this didn't even end in his childhood. It was said that in his late teens, he could still be seen walking up and down the street, holding Robert the doll in his hands, as if it was some sort of security blanket. Luckily, in his early 20s, Gene left the home to pursue the career of being an artist and travelled around Paris and many other European cities. However, This was not the last that he would hear of Robert the doll, and the attachment could not be broken that easily. When Robert's father, Thomas, died, he did return to the family home once again, as if being called back by Robert the doll. He chose to return with his new wife, Anne, who he'd met in Paris whilst he was working there as an artist. The two moved in and absolutely adored the home, but it was said that Anne right away got the worst feeling about this relationship with this doll that he had. It was said that Anne was very unhappy about certain things that were a little bit strange. He would apparently sleep in the same room as the doll, but he wouldn't just be there 24/7. No. Eugene would actively, if the doll was in another room, which apparently did from time to time, just move around the house, he would then get the doll and sit it in a rocking chair facing the couple's bed every single night. Oh no, honey. No. Just leave. If your hubby's like, babes, 1 minute, I need to get my doll, gotta get him face the bed so he can see what's going on, you just leave. If you're getting involved with a guy and like you're just starting to date and he's like, come back to my place, and you go back, there's any dolls there, run. Just run. Nothing good ever comes from it. Let's look back, shall we? That guy with the human dolls who's just living it up with his corpse dolls in his room, not a good choice. Anyone who's got porcelain dolls on their bed, serial killer. I'm gonna have all those doll lovers atting me, aren't I? Sorry. But back to our story. So, Anne, Jean's wife, said that she was even more terrified of the impact that Robert appeared to have on her husband. You see, she said that from time to time he would get really violent really quickly if she ever even questioned anything to do with the doll, and if the two were having arguments he would be extremely violent and aggressive, something that he never was in their relationship and the years before that they were married in Paris. She said that this was something that she wasn't used to with his behaviour, and it only sparked up when the doll was around them in the room. It was also said that when they would have their arguments, he would go upstairs to paint and take the doll with him and sit the doll in the same room, in the turret room at the top of the house where he used to paint. They were inseparable, like they never left each other's side, and this was something that Anne really was a little bit taken aback by. Probably the most concerning, I would say, from a psychological point of view, from an outsider, is that when he attacks his wife and beats her, which he does on several occasions, he then cannot remember it the next day and says that Robert did it or Robert made me do it, which makes you think a little bit back to his childhood. Is it Robert doing these things, or is it him doing these things and he's saying that the doll is capable of this just to take away that accountability? His wife said that the doll was often moved around the house, but did she ever see him moving on his own? Who knows? Neighbours from the nearby area actually said that they had seen the doll moving on its own through the windows of the house, and therefore they had actually contacted the Otto family to inform them of these weird goings on that not only their children had seen, but them as adults had seen, and the kids in the neighbourhood were petrified to even go past their street, let alone near the house. But it still seemed that Gene had this strange affiliation with the doll, and he was really protective over him as well. It seemed like he was his protector, and no matter what his wife said or how his family felt or how the neighbours felt, he was going to keep Robert through any cost. When Eugene and Anne finally passed away, they did actually lock the doll away in a chest in the attic until the new homeowners came. The home had laid empty for quite a while because of its notorious past with Robert the doll. Not one of the neighbours really wanted to move into that house, and then finally a young family moved in with a 10-year-old daughter, and the daughter was going through some things in the attic when she came across Robert the doll, and it's a very cute doll, and I bet you're all wondering at this moment in time why I have not put any pictures up on this story of the actual doll, and you will soon see why. I will discuss that, but just in case you're wondering, Was she playing at? Was she drunk when she was editing? I was not drunk. There is a very valid reason as to why I will never do that, okay? So just keep watching. The young 10-year-old girl was said to have had quite a negative experience from the get-go with Robert the doll. She said that the doll would often frighten her and twist his face in different emotions, such as anger and sadness and even happiness, when she would accidentally injure herself or bump her leg on things. And she just really got this overwhelming sense of pure evil from the doll. Not only that, the little girl was sadly plagued with awful night terrors. He would allegedly run around this home and be giggling and run amok, and it was said that when he was locked in the attic because the little girl was afraid of him, he would be stamping around the attic and giggling in a kind of maniacal way as if trouble was coming. Everyone seemed to notice this around the neighbourhood and only heightened the fame of Robert the doll in the artist's house. Everyone thought that this just was not right and that this had been going on for too long to have been a family hoax. The final straw for the young family who had recently moved in was, sadly, and trigger warning, this does involve the harm of an animal, so if that's horrible for you like it is for everyone, just skip a wee 5-10 seconds and you'll be golden. Allegedly, the young family's dog would constantly bark at the doll as if he just knew something wasn't right. It seemed that Robert didn't like this dog either, because the dog was found with its leash strap around its neck completely strangled, and the little girl completely denied it, and the family still to this day believe that that was Robert the doll. That's actually led the family to hand Robert over to a local museum named the Fort East Martello Museum just nearby in Key West. Now on to the reasoning why you won't see any photos or any videos of him in this video. At this museum, he is kept in a glass enclosure of a case, and there's actually a notification on the glass case saying that if you want any photos of Robert the doll or any videos of him to appear, you have to ask his permission, and he will give a sign that this has been accepted. And for that reason and that reason alone, I don't have his permission. I don't want his permission. I'm very sorry. I'll say his name and that's it. I will not put any pictures of him in this video. If you're curious as to exactly what the doll looked like, please, on your own computers, go and Google. I'm so superstitious. I just can't, gang. I'm sorry. If it's a killer, go for it. I'll put it up. But little dolls, not for me. I'm sorry, I draw a line there. It's heavily reported that if you do not ask Robert's permission for a photo or a video and you take one anyway, or if you disrespect him in any way and undermine his power, then you will suffer extremely bad luck at the hands of the doll and his curse. Many people have said that when they've left the museum, they've experienced serious injuries in car crashes and serious illnesses, and that several family members have been lost due to the curse of the doll. The museum actually receive thousands and thousands of apology letters from passerbys who have popped into the museum and haven't taken this curse seriously, because they've been so plagued with bad events after their visit that they've had no other choice and no other hope to end the bad luck than to apologise to Robert the doll. And you can actually see some of them are like proper grown men begging for his forgiveness. So yeah, let's not with that, okay? I actually watched this guy's YouTube video ages ago. I think it was like 2 years ago or something like that. And he visited the Robert the Doll Museum. And I won't name the YouTuber, but he brings out a Ouija board in the middle of this museum. And you're told 100%, do not do that, do not mess with this thing. And he does say that he's pointing to certain things like death and all that, but the guy's knuckles are literally white, pushing the planchette across the board, so we'll pretend that's real. But he then brings out this replica of Robert the doll that you can buy at the gift shop and asks the doll to transfer himself into his little mini doll. He then proceeds to go to the chalkboard behind the glass case behind Robert and writes insulting things on the board. Now this, my friends, is why you don't date YouTubers. But to be fair, I've seen a lot of this guy's videos and he really does, like, How are you not dead yet, mate? How are you still alive? Many celebrities have also been fascinated by the legend of Robert the Doll, mainly speaking about Ozzy Osbourne. You see, Ozzy Osbourne visited Robert the Doll back in 2017, taking a series of photos, and also was said to have made jokes and kind of disparaging remarks about the doll. He was there with his son Jack Osbourne, and afterwards Ozzy actually does blame Robert the Doll for his illness and his Parkinson's disease. He says that the doll caused him to grow increasingly more ill, and he says to his son Jack that it's no joke and that he's completely serious. Jack then agrees that he does believe that it's serious later on, because his wife actually divorced him shortly after visiting the doll as well. I mean, we could all just say that's speculation, but definitely I don't think this doll is something to be messed with, because Ozzy Osbourne ate a live bat. He ate a bat, okay? If he's eating bats and he's scared of it, I'm going to be scared of it. And if you are wondering what Ozzy did to piss him off so much, he actually bought a replica doll from the gift shop and decided to blow it up with a water cannon. So yeah, apparently that was not a good idea for you, Ozzy. So yeah guys, the moral of the story is, if you're watching Child's Play or The Boy, remember that one? That was freaky. Hello Greta! Or even just tuning in to a wee nostalgic Goosebumps episode, Night of the Living Dummy, do remember that this wasn't all fiction, and if you're visiting Key West and decide to take a little visit to Robert the Doll at the museum, please remember, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. It's so windy and like rainy right now, and I just can feel the bad vibes. I'm not scared, you're scared. I hope you guys aren't too scared shitless tonight. I know I am, and I'm editing with all the lights on, so yes. Please give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss me. I won't be ignored, Dan. Name that movie. Go. You get it? You got it? Did you get it? Feel free to follow me, Not Home, on Instagram at Megan True Crime. I also have a TikTok page at megan.truecrime, and keep your eyes peeled for my new personal YouTube page. I'll leave a link for that in the description box. I'll have a video up very soon. All things wedding, all things birthday, all things fun. Have a beautiful hump day, and remember guys, don't be like Otto. If you go into a guy's house and he's like, this is my doll, he's my best friend, you leave that door, you just walk out. There's no shame. Only shame if you stay. Just gonna enjoy this nice pepper Remy. If you know, you know. See you later. See ya.